Enter with us a world hidden in the shadows. A world where you don't know if you can trust your eyes. Two men search to expose the truth. Welcome to the Last Known Sighting Podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to the Last Known Sighting Podcast, the podcast where we go into the world of the shadows and try to uncover the truth. My name is Nathan,
And I'm Kaylen.
and let's get this started.
All right. So in this episode, we're going back in time 30 years ago to Varginha, Brazil, and the events that happened during that time. So in January 13th, 1996, multiple witnesses saw what looked like a cigar-shaped craft flying at a low altitude. It was letting off smoke. It was having like a buzzing sound, flies overhead, and there's a crash. And what's interesting about this one is there's multiple witnesses. Lots of UFO sightings usually have one guy in the field, like with his cell phone. It's super blurry. And I don't know about you, Nathan, but I find those ones like the hardest to believe, where it's not a great visual image of whatever they're looking at. It's usually like one person, maybe two. I mean, what do you think of like those types of
No,
sightings?
it's definitely really hard because, like, first of all, it's like, how do you not know? Like, it's like you could just be like, oh, I'm seeing a UFO, just moving your cell phone around, making it look like you're you're taking a photo of something, but it could be like a bird, right? And you're just like moving your phone around really fast to make it look super blurry, right?
hmm Yeah, those ones I find are very difficult. But in this case, in Varginha, Brazil, multiple witnesses see this crash. And the events that follow it keep this one of the most interesting UFO stories that I've been able to find. There's been documentaries about it as well. And one of the documentaries is where we got most of our information from. It's called Moment of Contact. It came out in 2022, directed by James Fox. And James Fox is a really interesting director because he's not into very cinematic scenes, not really into jump scares. He just wants the raw footage, the raw emotions from people who have experienced stuff like this. And that's exactly what he did. And I was really impressed by this documentary. What did you think of it, Nathan?
I thought it was pretty good, but the documentary I watched was called The Phenomenon. So,
All right. Was it directed by James Fox?
yeah,
Okay.
that's the
So,
one you told me about.
all right. Well, we'll compare our research then. So we'll start with Moment of Contact.
All
So
right.
in this one, the crash happens, and we'll start with these three young girls that a couple days later see what they would describe as a 4-foot tall creature. It's got brownish skin, it's got big red eyes, and it looks injured. And one of the interesting things I found about their description of it is the smell. And this will come up in multiple instances with witnesses, is the smell. It had a strong sulfur smell. And these three girls see this thing. It's obviously very scary for them. And they take off, they let their parents know. And then the fire department and the police get involved, and they go to this area where these girls see this thing. And there's supposedly a recovery. So the fire department gets out, they have nets, they have gloves on, and they recover something. And obviously this brings up a lot of commotion in the community, but the authorities involved with this are very quiet about it. They don't say what they're doing there. They don't let anybody know if there's an immediate danger to the community. They seal off the area, they do their thing, and then they leave. But people see military trucks, like flatbed trucks, hauling stuff out of the area, all covered in tarps. And there was one military police soldier named Marco. So at that time, he was 23 years old. He supposedly was on the scene, and he handled one of these creatures. I don't know if it was the same one that was taken by the fire department or if there's a different one. But in any case, he picks this thing up. He does not have any protective gear on. And as he's picking it up, he takes it to a veterinarian clinic because he doesn't know what this thing is. It's obviously not a person. He thinks it's some kind of animal. So he takes it to a veterinarian clinic. They don't want anything to do with it. They take this thing to a hospital, and they were able to do, I think, something with it. But the point of the story, talking about Marco, is he was a healthy person leading up to this event.
I remember hearing about this story.
Yeah. So he ends up getting a very aggressive infection right after this encounter with this thing. And he ends up passing away from it on February 15th, 1996. So this is more interesting to me because now we have a death involved. Now there's medical records of this person who was in the area at the time, did get a rapid infection that hospitals are not sure what it was, and it was immediately after this encounter. So was any of that in the documentary that you watched, Nathan? You mentioned that
No.
you heard about Marco.
Yeah, I've heard about him, but that's just been like Joe Rogan's talked about him a few times. Like I think I've seen news reports about it and stuff like that. But as far as I remember, no, the documentary I watched, which I was told to watch, The Phenomenon, that one had nothing about that in it. That one was more about like the UFO sightings that that's been seen in around like it starts off in like during just after World War II, I believe, and it talks about this one aviation pilot who I forget his name, but he ended up becoming a politician and stuff, and he seen a some sort of metallic aircraft floating above these mountains, right? And he didn't know what it was, and so he told his bosses about it, and they thought they thought he was crazy. They thought maybe he just had like saw a reflection of something. Like there's some sort of glare on the glass of his aircraft through on his in the in the pilot's deck, right? But no, that wasn't the case at all. He actually did see something. There was no reflection. There was multiple witnesses on this on I think it was the B-25 bomber. There's multiple witnesses on this aircraft that seen seen the um seen the aircraft as well in the mountains.
Mhm.
Right. And then it goes into Project Blue Book, like essentially the creation of Project Blue Book, what they were doing and stuff like that.
Yeah, okay. And this sighting, where exactly did he see this? You said it was in the mountains, but where? Do you know
I
exactly where?
I can't remember exactly where. I think Virginia or somewhere like that,
Okay.
I believe. But but yeah, so he's seen the aircraft in the mountains, and yeah, he mentioned it to some higher ups, and yeah, they thought maybe he was crazy, or like he just seen a some sort of reflection of or glare on his windshield of the airplane, right? But again, from what they were saying in the documentary, there's more than just one him that's seen it. And then they get it, and then again they get into they get into the Roswell crash, right? And then they kind of like get into like the kind of deception of the government,
Hmm.
that the fact that the government was trying to hide this stuff, right?
That seems to be a common thing with these sightings and these crashes is that when the government gets involved,
Yeah.
it's either swept under the rug, it's labeled something completely different. Like there's other
Well,
crashes that they say
The Roswell, they said it was a weather balloon,
exactly.
right? But like, why would the military be going in for a weather balloon,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Now they try in the documentary, they were saying that they tried to, like, play it off like it was some sort of, like, new experimental weather balloon or something like that, but I don't think so.
Yeah. Even if it was an experimental one, why all the commotion with the military and
Yeah, exactly, it makes no sense,
yeah.
right?
And
I do think that there's more to it than that.
yeah. I think there was more to this story as well in Virginia that the same thing. Military gets involved, somebody passes away from it, and they're silent about it. There's nothing from the authorities or Marco's superiors that, he had passed away doing something while on duty or gotten sick from something while he was on duty. He passed away weeks later, but like they covered it up pretty quickly. They hauled out whatever was found and acted like it never happened.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, it just makes you wonder why the secrecy, right? Like, if it's something so benign, like the government keeps on telling us, why so secret about it, right?
Yeah. It could be a few things. Like one of the things that comes to my mind is if it's this advanced technology, they're going to want to get their hands on it first. Maybe it's
Yeah.
something that they can back engineer, which they've been trying to do for decades. And if they can harness whatever kind of technology that these craft use, like for how fast they move, the maneuvers that they can do, how hard they are to track on radar.
Well, and the thing too with that is, like, let's face it, the government does have advanced technology that, like, we don't know anything about. Right? Like, for example, the internet, that was a military project before it was released to the civilian market. Like, the military was working on that first, and then once they kinda got their use out of it, they released it to the civilian market,
Yeah.
right?
There's also fiber optics
Yep.
that people are skeptics are saying could have been back engineered from this advanced technology that's recovered in these crash sites. So
Yeah.
to be able to harness, like let's say a government who has a crash in their country recovers one of these crafts, back engineers it, they understand how it works and they can use it for themselves, that would be a massive advantage throughout the world. Like they would really control everything. Like let's say the US, for example, if they had control of let's say the Tic Tac UFO that was seen in 2004, if they
Yep.
had one of those, that'd be game over. They would be able to control everything because nobody has any kind of technology even close to that.
No, and that's the thing too, is, like, they were talking about that in the documentary I watched, The Phenomenon. They were saying that, like, that one, they were flying over and they just seen a shape, just like maybe a couple feet below the surface of the water, right? And then all of a sudden they seen it shoot up, right? And they're watching it, and then all of a sudden it went just like launched over to the other side, like the amount of speed and stuff like that, and the fact that it could just like float there, like we don't have any, and like we don't have any technology that we know of that's like that. At least something that can float with like that makes no sound whatsoever.
No sound, no heat signature,
Yeah.
and no visible means of propulsion.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And the fact that it can move not just straight, but also to the side, like from what they would think would be the side of the aircraft, right? Move to the side and then also backwards with no issues.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy technology that they're seeing. Yeah, so that could be one reason why the government would wanna be so quick to recover these things and then cover it up with something. The other one I was thinking is getting to the disclosure topic. If the government knows of something like that we're being visited, for example, they would wanna protect the common people from knowing about this because I think that would spiral into complete chaos, possibly worldwide, if this came out. Full disclosure, we're being visited by these let's say aliens or just people from another world that are far superior to us. They have better technology, they have more power than us. That could really spiral a lot of things.
I would say so, right? Like I what do you think would happen in general if we found out that there was superior life out there to us?
I think for me personally, I'd be pumped because I've been so
Yeah.
excited to finally have disclosure. If they have
I know you would be, but I'm talking about like what would happen to the world? What would happen to like society?
so the world, I think, would collapse. You would have major stock market crashes, economies would plummet, and people who are under any kind of government would lose all kinds of respect for them because they know that there's a higher um, technology, a higher society that has power over everything. So I think those are one of the main things that would collapse.
That's interesting. I'm not that quite pessimistic,
Yeah,
right? No, I don't think the stock market would collapse because like well that means like the business is going like out like going bankrupt or whatever, right? So I don't think the stock market would collapse, right? I still think there'd be businesses and stuff like that. But uh I do think that like people would have a lot more distrust in the government than they already do now, right? And for
especially if sorry to interrupt, but especially if it comes out that they've known about this for a long
yeah,
time and we could have
yeah,
been preparing
exactly.
for this.
Exactly. Like it would make sense that hey, your people would probably lose trust in you if you
Yeah.
knew that this was happening since like let's be kind and say since like the mid 40s. Let's give them let's be kind and say that. Right? Who knows? It might be even sooner if aliens do exist,
Mhm.
right? But yeah, people would 100% lose trust in their government, more trust than they already have now.
Yeah.
Like let's face it, so many people lost trust in the government and like in the healthcare system when like the coup was happening, right? Because there's so much misinformation and stuff like that coming from the government about that stuff, right? Especially stuff where it's like we know now wasn't true.
Mhm.
So it's like, yeah, 100% people would lose trust. And yeah, like I don't know if I don't know if the governments would be able to recover from that, right?
For sure. You mentioned in the 40s. What's interesting about that time is shortly after that, I believe they were doing like a lot of nuclear tests. And
Yes.
during that time, when countries were trying out their nuclear weapons, causing a lot of ripple effects in the universe, that had a massive spike in UFO activity.
Yeah.
So it
Yep.
seems like we rang some kind of bell that
Yeah.
brought in all
Well,
these sightings.
there's cases of like a nuclear missile facility that like all 10 missiles went offline, and that's like unheard of. Like that was like next to impossible to happen according to these engineers and these people who run these facilities, right?
Do you
So
know
I was
more
like,
about that? Like, where was the facility?
uh I can't remember exactly where the facility was. It was in the documentary The Phenomenon, but again, I'm horrible with names, so I apologize. But
That's okay.
but they were talking about how this facility, I don't know if they mentioned it or not. I can't remember exactly, but all the missiles went offline, right? And again, that was like unheard of to happen, right? And then also too, it wasn't just that facility where where they were having issues. It was facilities all over the country that was going off and stuff like that, and they were having issues.
So when all this stuff happened, when the missiles were taken offline, was there sightings of UFOs at that time?
I believe so. Yes,
So they're thinking that might be linked to it.
I think so. Yeah, yeah.
So they're probably just why would a UFO want to do that? Like, would it be just showing dominance, saying, "Look what I can do"? Like, you guys think you're powerful with your 10 missiles, I can shut them off.
So that's one theory. There's also the other theory where there's also the other theory that that maybe they're trying to prevent something.
Yeah, telling us to settle down with the missiles.
Yeah, exactly. Because like a lot of this stuff started when like the whole nuclear stuff started popping off,
Yep.
right? When nuclear missiles and stuff like that were starting to become more dominant.
Yeah, it's almost like they were maybe watching us from afar. If aliens do exist, and if they were so much superior to us, they would have kind of watched us from afar, like scientists on Earth do with other animals. Like humans have been studying apes for generations and watching them develop and how they'll learn like new skills. Like for example, there was one video I saw of I think it was an orangutan spearfishing. Have you seen a video like that? There's
No, I've
one
never seen a video like that.
there, and this is, believe it or not, not AI, at least as far as I know. But there's an orangutan hanging from a tree with a spear in his hand, and he's fishing.
That's
And
interesting.
yeah, for sure. And scientists were all over that. Like, this is so amazing, like that he maybe he was watching humans do it, like local tribes watching them do it, and then he
When did
adapted
this
to that.
video
And
come out?
I don't know when it came out. It's been a while, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Um, Maybe I can pull it up.
Because I don't remember seeing a video like that at all.
All right, we're gonna pivot on this episode.
That's all we do is pivot.
Yeah, we watch different documentaries. We're so not prepared.
We like to be off the cuff. We like to fly by the seat of our pants here.
All right, I think I found something. We'll try that.
Yep.
All right, let's see. Let's try this one.
You're not going to believe this. Orangutans have been caught spearfishing. Yeah, this is a real picture. They learned to do after watching humans do it first.
Look at that.
They literally
Interesting.
Yeah, so
I mean, and that kind of makes sense because like apes that are in research facilities learn how to do different things. Like for example, there's a test where they like put the different shape blocks in the proper holes, and it's like a human taught them how to do that. So it could be theoretically true that a orangutan saw humans spearfishing and learned how to do that himself.
Yeah, for sure. But the point I was gonna make with that is how exciting that was for the scientists to see that,
Yeah.
especially the ones who are studying these animals that up until that point, they didn't know that they could do that, and now that they can. So, getting back to the UFOs, in the 50s, maybe the aliens are keeping an eye on us, not doing anything super special yet, and then bang, the nuclear bomb goes off. That's gonna get their attention. That's gonna bring them in closer
Well,
to see
that
what's
was
going on.
that was the 40s, the first nuclear bomb went off.
So the okay, it's the 40s or the 50s, but
It was
after
40, it was 45 because that was at Hiroshima, and
right,
that's what ended the war was the nuclear bomb, right?
right.
Going off at Hiroshima.
So after that happened, that's when the UFO sightings spiked tremendously.
Yeah.
And that's what I think might have been going on is we got their attention when we start doing that, and they've been checking on us more and more lately. And with all the commotion going on currently, I mean, I think it's gonna start ramping up again.
You never know, like, I mean, there's been crazy times all throughout human history. Especially too all the way from World War One to like now. Like, I just think nowadays we see it more often because we're so plugged into like social media. So it's like we see it a lot more often because it's like instantaneously we see it,
Yeah,
right? Trump does something, instantaneously we know about it. Frickin' the British Prime Minister does something, instantaneously we know about it.
yeah.
So it's like I think that the like we've yeah, things are crazy now, but I think things have always been crazy. It's just we haven't been so plugged in,
That's true.
right?
Before the internet and before social media, you would have to rely on news channels or
Yep,
newspapers. A
yep.
lot harder to get information out
And i-
globally.
and if the and if before if the news channel or whoever didn't want to report on it, you had no idea about it,
Yeah.
right?
So it's a lot easier to maybe cover up something too, like a UFO crash. There might have been an article here and there, but the vast majority of people would never have heard about it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like who really knows? You know what I mean?
One thing I wish that was a possibility is so many of these sightings and so many of these crashes are usually in America. This one, for example, is in Brazil, which is a bit of an anomaly, but I like hearing more worldwide sightings because then it doesn't feel so manipulative, I think, that, this has happened. There's situations
What do you
in
mean it
Africa.
doesn't feel so manipulative?
Well, that the maybe the government would be fabricating something like this to distract us. Maybe they're testing their own equipment and they're not saying anything. Like, look what happened in New Jersey with the drones.
Oh, okay.
That was
Yeah.
super weird. They didn't mention anything about that. And like the Tic Tac sighting, for example, a lot of it had to do with, military bases. It was a common theme, a lot to do with the military. They're the only ones that seen this stuff. There was some public sightings, but what I like is to hear that stuff as well as what's going on in Brazil, as well as maybe what's going on in Africa. There's other crazy UFO sightings in Africa, which we can get into that at another time. But I wish I could know more. Like I want to know what's going on in places like Russia, places like
Yeah.
China, where if they were to
Well,
recover their own
China,
crashes.
I doubt you would find out anything because the government is super hush hush over in China,
Yeah, but I mean,
right?
if everybody's in their own race, if there's multiple crashes throughout the world, it is just a race to whoever can harness this technology or back engineer it.
Yeah. Well, it's like this. It's like the same thing with like AI right now. Like the governments are all like, oh well, if we don't perfect AI right now, then China is gonna perfect it, and we can't have that, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
So
it's a
it's like yeah, we have to find this technology, otherwise our enemies are gonna get it, right?
yeah. So we're not working like we mentioned before, like if there was a full disclosure day and the aliens showed up and tried to overpower us, people would be upset that they were not in the know. That's kind of what's going on right now. Like there's not a shared experience in throughout the world, which I
No,
understand
the
why.
governments are not being transparent at all. Like let's take the like Canadian government for example. Our government, they're probably one of the most untransparent governments on the entire planet right now. Like for example, all the like stuff going on with like between Canada and the US. Anything we would find out because the American government would talk about it, and then we're like, "Well, why didn't our government tell us?" Right? So it's kind of like it's like that almost.
Do you think we'll ever have a disclosure day where countries finally come clean with this, be it's real or it's a hoax, to just finally put this thing to bed? Because this has been so many years that people have been interested in this. The government's been covering stuff up. Like, do you think that day's ever going to come?
I don't know exactly, but let me ask you this question: if the government came out and said, "Hey, this is all a hoax," do you think people would believe it, or do you think they'd be like, "Nah, you're full of it"?
I think, yeah, that would. I don't know if anything would change really if they
Yeah,
said, yeah, it's
exactly.
all
Everyone,
hoax.
because everyone would still be in their conspiracy theory bubbles and all this other stuff, right? Because again, people do not trust the government,
Yeah.
and rightfully so,
I think
right? Because
what I
they've
was
been
getting at,
they've been proven that they can't be trusted.
yeah, I think what I was getting at is like if they come out and say the Tic Tac is an American drone. We designed it
Okay,
from the ground up. We have top quality scientists on this. This was our equipment. We were testing it. It was very top secret. That's why we didn't say anything. It's ours. Or we have no idea what the Tic Tac was. It's completely alien. It's probably out of this world. We all have to come together to figure out what to do about this.
do I think that that day is ever going to come?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not. Because the government likes their secrets,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I find it funny. So did you see that video of so I guess like Obama came out and said something like, "Oh, aliens are real" or something like that. And then someone asked Trump about it, and Trump said, "Well, he shouldn't have done that. It's top secret," or something like that. Right?
Mm.
And then there's a whole bunch of people who were going off about that. Like, "Oh, it's confirmed," right?
Yeah.
I think that's like kind of like the closest we're getting. I think like Trump is just trolling there. Like that's what he does, right? Guy loves to troll,
The the
right?
the issue with telling presidents exactly what's going on is they're
I don't think
not
the
there
presidents know exactly
full
what's going
time. Like,
on. No.
yeah, they're only there for a certain amount of terms
Yeah.
at best, and then they move on. So there's not a lot of point to give the president full disclosure of what's going on.
Well, they're like the oh, what's it called? The secret government or whatever. The oh, what's the term for them? Like the shadow government or whatever. The people who are like controlling everything in the background. They're not going to tell Trump or Biden or Obama anything. Right? Unless those people are, like, involved somehow, they're not gonna tell them
Yeah,
anything, right? So it's like, I think it's just like, I think the presidents have some sort of information, but nothing like that.
yeah. I would cut right to the chase if I was named president. I'd be like, I want to hear it. I
Well,
want it all.
didn't Trump say something like when he, like, was running for his 2nd term or something like that, that he was gonna, like he said, "If you" what was it? He said, "If you knew what I knew, you would not wanna know," or something like that.
Yeah, I heard a similar quote. I'm
But
like,
it's like, is he trolling again? Because we all know how much he loves to troll,
yeah,
right? Or is it like, is he actually being serious? Like, who knows? Like, the guy is unreadable sometimes.
yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, whether there's a full disclosure day or not, and what comes of that result, it's still such a fun topic
Yeah.
for me to think
I don't
about.
think there's gonna be a full disclosure day, in my opinion, right?
Mhm.
It'd be nice to see, right? But I don't think there will be. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Mhm.
So, but let me ask you this. In your opinion, what do you think these aliens or beings are? Where do you think they come from? What do you think they are?
I go into two different opinions, and I'm not sure which one I'm leaning to more because I think both have weight to them. So the first one, and the one I've thought about the longest, is just looking at the vastness of the universe. You look at just our immediate galaxy, how big it is. And then you
Yep.
just keep blowing that up bigger and bigger to the entire universe and how massive it is. And if we are just this one inhabited planet, it doesn't really make sense to me to have so much space, but only this much is inhabited. And if we're supposed to enjoy Earth, why have something so big that we can only see the smallest fraction of the entire universe? So to me, there has to be something else going on. To me, it feels like kind of selfish to think that we'd be the only inhabited planet in the entire universe. So that's the first one. That's if I can narrow it down to just the two for now and not go into too much of a rant. But the second one was learning more about ancient civilizations and the technologies that they had is really interesting to me that we don't know how they were able to do some of their architecture, some of their tools that they had. None of these tools were recovered either. Like there's drills, for example, that are thousands and thousands of years old that at that time these cultures would not have had access to it. The Egyptian pyramids, why go through all that trouble to build something like that takes so much work, so much effort, and it's so calculated too. The size of the blocks in the pyramids, the angles that are true north, south, east, and west, how they align with constellations is amazing to me. And some of the technology I think is missing. And with one example of Bob Lazar, who studied UFOs supposedly in Area S4 in the 80s, was working on this crashed UFO, and he heard that it was not crashed like recently. This was part of an archaeology dig. So these things have been around
I
for a
never
long
heard
time.
that part.
Yeah, so that's what he has mentioned, that's what he heard, that these things.
Is this a recent discover like a recent comment?
He's mentioned this before. He was
Oh, okay.
recently on Joe Rogan's podcast, and I believe it was brought up again. But this is going back. The first time I heard about it would have been 2019 when he was first on the podcast, and it
Mm.
was mentioned that one of the UFOs, and they had more than one too, that he was working on, was from an archaeology dig. And
Hmm.
so that kind of put me into like a bit of a tailspin, thinking about could this be an ancient civilization that had amazing knowledge about how to do certain things and had advanced technology that maybe they were able to leave Earth and explore the universe, and they're just kind of coming back to see what happened after they left. And there's also a lot of sightings about things coming up from the ocean as well. So maybe they didn't go into space. Maybe with all the major cataclysms and natural disasters that happen, maybe going deep underwater was the safer option. And
So
that's what we're seeing is these ancient civilizations technology.
so then your second kind of theory is it could be humans who have developed advanced technology. Okay, that's an interesting one.
Yeah, that's the two that I'm leaning most toward, but I think just the size of the universe is just it's impossible that we're the only ones. So there has to be something.
Possibly. I mean, I would say like my theory kind of goes along with your the second one that you mentioned, but mine isn't really. humans, right? I would say my like the kind of theory I've been kind of like developing in my head, and yeah, this is just like me being bored and like just like thinking about cool stuff, right? Like what if, type stuff. So in the Book of Enoch, it talks about how the Watchers, the fallen angels, right, who mated with the women of Earth and created the Nephilim, they also mated with animals to have like on Earth to have kind of like a cross species type thing. So my theory is that these aliens or whatever they are, if they exist, are actually offspring, hybrid offspring that are from the Watchers and these animals, right? And because they have this angel DNA in them, they would be they would be extremely smart, I would imagine, right? Whether it's right away or they would develop that, they would like eventually adapt to that or evolve or whatever your term you want to use. And they they would be extremely smart. They develop these crafts and stuff like that, and then they leave Earth. And one of the reasons why I kind of like think this is because like it talks about how they like mated with like lizards and like other types of animals. And what's the type of what's one of the type of aliens that that everyone always mentions? The lizard people,
Hmm.
right? So that's kind of my theory, right? Again, I could totally be wrong or whatever, right? But that's kind of like my theory if aliens do exist. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Hmm.
Like what do you think of that?
I do believe that angels came down and mated with and bred with humans that created their offspring known as the Nephilim. I have not read or looked into anything about the Book of Enoch. I've heard more and more about it lately, about its origins of its discovery, where it was found, and that it was found along with other books of the Bible.
Yeah,
I
like
thought
the
that was
Dead Sea
interesting.
Scrolls,
Yeah, there was also, I believe, the Book of Isaiah was found with it, or a version
the
of the Book of Isaiah.
the Book of Giants as well.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Um, I I haven't done enough research to have an opinion about them breeding with animals, though. But I do believe in breeding with humans and creating the Nephilim, who would have been very intelligent, and they would have had the ability to kind of show off to humans with what they could do, and kind of creating themselves as gods among humans. So I
Yeah,
think some of the big structures that we see in the world could be attributed to Nephilim being involved with the construction, especially when it
yeah,
comes to like the mass, like size of these things. And some of the doorways, for example, are, 9 feet, 10 feet tall doorways, where if you look at the average human size, you wouldn't need a doorway that big.
no,
So
no. I think like what the tallest human that we know of is like what 7 foot something. Like who's that one? I think he's a basketball player. He's like crazy tall. I think he's Asian.
so you're probably thinking of Yao Ming. That's the one that I think
Yes,
about. Yeah.
that's the guy.
Yeah.
He's like I think he's like 7'2" or something like that. He's like ridiculously, or he's like 6'9" or something. He's like
I
ridiculously tall.
I remember him, and I think if I remember correctly, his height was 7'5".
Okay, there you go.
I could be wrong, but that's the one that comes to mind, was 7'5".
Okay,
But
7'5", that's tall, but that's not as tall as like 9 or 10 feet.
yeah,
So, but like again, we'll kind of like we'll have more of a we'll do an episode on the Book of Enoch and the Nephilim and stuff like that because I think that's an episode I'm really excited to talk about. But going back to the whole aliens part, so as someone who believes in the Bible, as a Christian, how do you wrap your head around the existence of aliens?
I've thought a lot about this, and I've had discussions with a lot of other Christians about it, and the conclusion that sits the best with me is God created humans to live on the earth, to inhabit the earth, but he had been around forever. I
Yeah.
believe that like God doesn't have a beginning, he doesn't have an end, and the earth itself, scientists have dated like, it's millions and millions of years old, but that's that
I
doesn't
think they've
really.
dated. I think they've said around billions or trillions of years old.
Okay, pick any number. But if
Yeah.
you're dealing with eternity, what did God do before that time?
Yeah.
And I think that, we read the Bible, that every book in the Bible pertains to the events that happened in heaven that led up to the events that are going on today and the future prospect on what's going to happen. It doesn't necessarily have to tell us everything that God has been doing, all the stuff he's been working on. So I think that as a Christian, I'm open to it. He doesn't have to tell us everything that he's been up to or plans or stuff that's currently going on in the universe.
Yeah. Like what is the purpose of the Bible? Why was it written?
It was written to explain what life started out as, the purpose for humans on the earth, and it's also
Like
talking
like the
about,
it's the gospel of Christ as well, right?
yeah,
And
it
like
starts with Adam
and
and
it's
Eve.
like it's to talk about like the future for humanity and the prophecies,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And like in Christ's lineage,
Yep.
right? So like that is the purpose of the Bible, right? So just because it doesn't mention aliens doesn't mean they don't exist. Again, I'm more of the skeptic out of the two of us, but I do believe that hey, there could be something out there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
I
now,
really feel like that there's good.
sorry, go on, go on.
Well, I was just gonna like lean into it. I really feel like there is something else out there.
Yeah,
And
it's very well possible,
yeah.
right? Like they found I think they're saying that they found water on other planets. What
Mars.
what
Mars used to have water.
Yeah, they say that Mars used to have, but I'm pretty sure there's something that came out recently that there was another planet, I think further from, I think outside of the Milky Way galaxy, that there was a planet that had water or has water. I don't know how true that is. Again, it's just I read something real quick about it. It didn't really go much into much detail
Hmm.
about it. For all I know, it could have been a hoax or whatever. But there scientists do say that a lot of these different planets have some sort of ability where they could hold life if the conditions are just right,
Yeah. Speaking
right?
of conditions being just right, I thought about this too. And I'm not a scientist, just so you guys are aware. Um, but I'm also not a
No,
doctor.
we're just two guys talking on the internet.
I came up with this thought, like the periodic table of elements is all everything on there. It talks about what humans need to sustain life. We need water. We
Yep,
need oxygen. We need these things as humans. That doesn't say that there's other species that could survive on a completely different type of periodic table of elements. Like,
yep.
can't that be a possibility?
Very well could be. Like just because we need something doesn't mean like take a dog for example, right? There are things that we can ingest and do and eat and stuff like that, that if a dog did, it would die. It would get very sick and die.
Yeah.
But for us, it doesn't affect us at all, right?
Mhm.
Because our bodies are different. The way we digest and stuff like that is different,
Yeah.
right? So, yeah, there very well could be some sort of species out there that the the elements to survive are completely different than what we need,
Yeah.
right? Or that the living or the animals on Earth need to survive,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah. So there's endless possibilities really for what could be out there.
Yeah. So you brought up like what I think would or what would happen if on disclosure day if it happened. See, in my opinion, I don't think like the stock markets would crash or anything like that, right? I do believe that people would have more distrust in the government than they already do, but my thing is if it did come out that aliens did exist, I think the biggest thing that would happen would there would be a lot of people who would lose their faith and be like, "Oh, well, this proves that God doesn't exist." Or it would be or you would have these atheists or whoever be saying, "See, God doesn't exist. Look, there's aliens." Right?
Yeah, there definitely could be people with those opinions.
Right? I think that would be the biggest thing that would happen,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. One thing I wanted to mention too earlier, getting back to the events in Varginha, Brazil, was the the witnesses. Like we want to talk about different sightings and government cover-ups, but the witnesses who seen the crash, seen the creature that was running around afterwards, the emotional response that these people have was really interesting to me. That one of the three girls that saw the creature, James Fox took her back to that area, and you could see she was like overwhelmed with emotion to be back at that place. Like there was trauma there. And this girl was not an actor, and she had nothing to really gain from this experience, from the documentary. Like, and she had that kind of response. And that was one of two people that had that response. There was another guy that was taken back to a site. I think it might have been the crash site that he's seen, and he knew exactly how it went down. He said, over in this area, there's people over there, there was debris over here, there was fire over here. He could recount so much of it, and he also got emotional from this. And
Oh,
to me,
really?
yeah, he was like really like just overwhelmed with the trauma that he had experienced. And that's something that you can't cover up very easily. These people they have nothing to gain from this. And if anything, they had a negative experience throughout their life from this. And he's had to carry that throughout the years, and then bringing it back up again, he got very upset. And so, yeah, it's a really good documentary. I'm sorry I gave you the wrong title.
It's all
I
good.
hope
You
you
know what?
have.
You know what we should do is do a part two, but we switch documentaries. You watch the phenomenon, and I watch the one that you watch.
Yeah, that's what we'll have to do.
And then we can give like feedback on like both documentaries.
There you go. That's the plan.
Yeah,
Yeah, we adapt on this podcast.
exactly. Exactly. When people give people the wrong documentaries to watch, we adapt. Like I said, we fly by the seat of our pants here. So,
That's right. We're having a lot of fun doing it. And we'll be back with more episodes about the world in the shadows.
yes, exactly. Thank you for joining us. If you have any opinions on what you think could be going on, to leave a comment, please like, subscribe. We're also on Spotify, Rumble, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. So please go check out any one of those.
Thank you, Nathan.
Thank you, Kaylen.
And see you, everybody.
See you later, everyone.
Thank you for joining us on our adventure in uncovering the mysteries of the world hidden in the shadows. We hope to see you on the next episode to uncover the truth on the last known sighting podcast.